Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the opener. The true actual halfway point hit yesterday for the Rays in the league. We did our midseason preview, and it feels like this is a completely different team in just like a 1 week span in a good way. Very excited to be where we are here. Will, how are you doing, and how are you opening today?
I'm doing good. It's like you just said. It feels like it's a completely different team, and I feel like we were in the fields for it. But Rays might have bent. They didn't break in June, and after a great stretch at a Trop and a legendary run by Junior Caminero, Rays once again sit in first place in the AL East over the Yankees.
Some would say raise up. I think some would say that here. And yeah, I mean you hit the nail on the head. The we During the midseason episode we did, I was talking about how there's just no pop on this team. And we were last in home runs. I think it was 27th in doubles. And I was just worried about the sustainability of our approach. And what do we do in the last 5 games? Homer, Homer, Cedric Mullins, Homer, Junior, Homer, Homer, Homer. Everybody just started hitting Mesa, Homer. And then tonight we're kicking off a series against the Royals, and Junior goes deep again. We were talking before this. I think was it 7 homers in 5 games or something,
Yep.
something like that, with a 3 homer night mixed in there as well. So it's been refreshing to get back into the power side of things. There's been some talk this week. I think it was maybe MLB Network did that special about the big three. The big three is starting to become like a household thing. Junior, Aranda, and Yandy. And they're like 3 of the 5 or 10 best hitters in the entire league by weighted runs, WRC plus, mega gigabrain stat. And and they're all on our team, right? So everything really revolves around there. And when they're clicking and when the auxiliary pieces are just chipping in, all of a sudden a little magic is back here. Well,
Yeah, it's like we knew about the big three, right? Coming in, we knew Yandy, Aranda, and Caminero were the big three in our lineup, and the questions always came, what happened after? But I don't know if anyone like really fully expects. I mean, these are three all stars at the top of this lineup.
well, the Blue Jays fans might have something to say about all that.
Well, just they have all stars in them, right? Junior was an all star, Yandy's been an all star, and Aranda's been an all star, right? So these aren't just some guys that can be good. These are guys that
You're right.
are good, and now they are getting kind of the recognition. I think when you look at the actual American League, I know they're right up there in terms of the top five, and obviously number one is Jordan Alvarez, but I'm pretty sure like Junior, Yandy, and Aranda are like
Ben Rice
three,
is
four,
up
five,
there.
2, 3, 4, something like they are right behind them in there. So it's fun to see as a Rays fan, but it's also nice to see like the recognition that we knew they deserved.
Yeah, I'll try to pull it up here. I know Ben Rice will be up there, in the top 10. He's an unbelievable hitter. So I'm sorting by WRC plus, and you've got so this is all leagues. So Jordan, Soto, Otani, Yandy Diaz, Nick Kurtz, Kyle Schwarber, Junior Caminero, and then you got to go down to number 23 for Jonathan Aranda, which is still great. Jonathan Aranda with a 138 weighted runs created plus, so 38% better at creating runs than league average. So pretty good. Some of the defensive stats are really
Yeah,
not
it's tough for Aranda
favoring
sure,
Aranda.
on
I
defense.
know
Yeah.
that he's had a couple rough ones. Like the eye test isn't that bad, but he has had a couple rough ones. But you mentioned something before the pod about another one of the big three's defense. What did you uncover here that's some positive news?
Yeah, we always talk about Junior Caminero as bad, as good, and his defense is kind of bad. And we saw that at the beginning of the year, a lot of errors, and he still has a lot of errors because it just happens in baseball. You get them, and when you build up on them, you usually end up having a pretty good number. But right now, Junior Caminero's season defensive WAR is actually a positive 0.4. And if you kind of take what his defensive WAR was before that, I don't have the exact number, that's really, really good because I know he was probably negative. Like he was the worst defender in the league. He was probably like negative 1 plus. I wouldn't be surprised if he was even worse than that. And the fact that now it's positive, if he didn't have some of those rough stretches of those errors, I can imagine his defense WAR probably would have been closer towards like like somewhere between 0.8 and 1.3 if he didn't have those tough stretches. But the fact that Junior Caminero now has a positive defensive WAR, and I feel like this might be a trend with Junior. His defense kind of isn't very good when
Yes.
he starts the season, and then as it goes on, he kind of just gets comfortable, gets more athletic, gets the feeling of the ball, and just starts playing better defense. We saw it last year, and we're certainly seeing it this year.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I have to dive in a little more on the defensive war because, like, I pull up his Savant page and it still has him as first percentile in range and second percentile in fielding run value. The main thing I think that I was taking, obviously there were some bad throws early in the year, and I think the main thing I was really taking issue with was just how often he would cut in front of Taylor Walls. Knock on wood, we have not seen that in a little while. We need to put one of those signs up like 14 days since last incident, at the whiteboard.
Like a little chalkboard.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I did see his that I want to say it was Evan Klosky. I wish I knew exactly who it was. I think it might have been him, but it showed that he had been trending in the right direction, defensive wise throughout the year. Like you're saying, he did the same thing last year. And then he's just been on a all-time heater at the plate. Like it was about a month where he didn't hit a home run, and he's just like making up for lost time now. He's now slugging 548, which is higher than last year's number. The last year where he hit 45 home runs. So I guess it would have been his 23rd today against the Royals, and we're one game past the halfway point. So he is exactly on pace to match last year's 45 home runs. And thankfully, all the Rays fans on Twitter have been getting in everyone's ass for all those people that were like, oh, he was hitting in Steinbrenner. This isn't real. He's not a real power hitter. The guy is the fastest bat in the league, and you're saying that like
and he hits the ball the
needed
hardest.
like, what are we talking about? So, of his home runs, I had this here. This is of the 22 at the time. It's obviously 23, and this will be another no doubter. But of his 23 home runs, I'm just going to throw this one tonight in as a no doubter. 15 are no doubters. 15 out of 23 are no doubters. And then I guess this stat is kind of confusing because this does not add up to 22 home runs. So anyway, if you watch his home runs, like they don't just, there's like a couple that barely scrape over the wall. Everything else is hit like 578 feet.
Yeah, I mean, it's we knew how good he was, and when you play in a stadium like Steinbrenner, and you can even compare it to like playing at Yankee Stadium, is the numbers could be inflated. They could be, right? We kind of talked about Yandy Diaz at the beginning of our podcast when we started everything. Is he actually hit a lot of home runs in Steinbrenner, and he went the other way and used that short porch? Is he still going to do that? And he has. Yandy still is having a lot of power this year, but his home runs and the way he hits the ball, I don't know how you can even question it. And now Junior has, I think, almost a 950 OPS and nearly a 300 batting average, and he's starting to really put himself in that MVP conversation. Obviously, you need guys like Jordan to slump, and Ben Rice is kind of going through it right now when you start looking at MVP. But
Yep.
you can start making an argument that Junior Caminero is somewhere in probably number 2, 3, or 4 if you're looking at that MVP conversation. Right? It's probably Jordan, Rice, Junior, maybe like Nick Kurtz right after that.
Bobby Witt, I would say, is up there, front runner,
Yep.
just because he's so electric defensively, and he hit a home run against us tonight. That I think Bobby's maybe the front runner, and then Jordan's right there with him. Or no, maybe Jordan is the front runner. I think
Jordan's just the bat. I mean, he's leading in
Yeah.
like OPS, home runs, slugging. I think even on bases high. All the stats that matter when you're looking at MVP. Jordan's leading in it, and that's even if Yandy did make phase 2 of the All-Star voting, if we're being honest, like it's DH and he probably wasn't going to get it, but that doesn't mean he can't still be an All-Star. He just won't be a starter.
Yeah.
Make sure people know that.
Yeah, I know. It is crazy, the Blue Jays fans. Credit to them. Like, that's great. But you got an entire country voting for a team. And
I miss the days when you would go to the game and they'd have like the pamphlet. And you'd actually have to punch them through, and that's how they were submitted. Right? So the only way you could vote is if you went to the actual game, which seemed kind of
might not have helped us out, to be fair, as Rays. But,
but you'd have a lot less. You'd have a lot less losers. Brian Anderson, he was going through the scores for the AL East, and he's like, "Oh, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the American League All Stars are losing.
Yes.
Talking about the Blue
VA's
Jays.
been on a heater. The
He's been
greater,
on one right now. He's been
you know,
absolutely on one right now.
it's so fun. Like, it's nice to see our booth get a little recognition because I think they are so good. Some of our buddies
Yeah.
just like cannot stand Dwayne Statt's voice, which I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just so used to hearing him. Maybe there's a world where it's an acquired taste. He's very relaxed, very soothing. I mean, the guy's a pro's pro. He's been doing it for 50 plus years.
Yeah.
BA for me is just like as good as it gets. Just as good as it gets as a color guy. And he always has his little bits. And I feel like we're due for maybe a new bit coming soon because I think we've had a few of them have been like, remember last year with the flag out in Steinbrenner 1.2, 1.2. It's
Yeah,
like
every
every
time.
game.
Well, this year they got the hot corner. That's like the new
Yes.
hit right now. They got
hot corner alert. Oh, he's always like taken aback by it. Like, whoa, what's
Like,
going
we got
on
a hot
there?
corner.
Yeah, he's
even
really
even
good.
like last pitch, final pitch, game ends, and hot corner. Got a hot corner alert.
Yep. Who's that guy? Who's the? There's one umpire that he's like buddies with, and every now and then, he's like that umpire is on like the first baseline, and they'll cut to him, and BA goes, "Oh, that's my gym buddy. We work out together." It's like, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Dude, BA cracks me up, right? Like,
Yeah.
like he just knows how to fill the space in the game, right? I mean, the games are 2.5 hours. You
Yeah.
talk about baseball almost the entire time, but you're gonna have times where you have to fill that space in, right? And I mean, he, like I say, he's been on the heater. The Max Kepler, that was a home run 80 days ago, or the
so good.
day game after a night game. Boys were having fun
Yeah.
last night.
He's been on a heater, and he's not. At least not tonight. I don't know if he's on the trip here. I think he took. He
I don't
he
know. I
gave
heard
us,
him. I don't know if he's on it. I know Doug. I think it's Dwayne and Doug, but
Yeah.
I don't know if BA's on it right now.
Yeah, I'm glad Dwayne made the trip. I mean, he's just so good. Andy Fried is passable and everything, but that's not like his expertise.
I like Andy
right?
Fried on the radio. If I listen to the game on the
100%.
radio, I love Andy Fried. I love Neil Solondz on. I think they're so good.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when I watch a game and it's Andy Fried,
Yeah,
for some reason, I think we're gonna lose, and two, it just doesn't give me that same feeling watching the
warm,
game.
fuzzy feeling of
Yeah.
my grandfather. Opening a present on Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, great.
Yeah. So the vibes are so much higher right now. I mean, it's the baseball season always gets me. I always try to be like level-headed, but I know myself. I'm emotional, and I still think there's we see what we can do when the guys are in full force. I wouldn't say we've been playing the most elite competition the past like 5 days. I mean, the Royals are not very good. The Diamondbacks are kind of mid. They should have made that. Well, I guess now that Pepio is hurt, but why did they not trade Ketel Marte for us for like Boz and Pepio? I feel like they would be a better team. I mean, Ketel Marte is unbelievable. He was their one bright spot in that series, but like there's nothing going on pitching wise over there. I think Erod has been good.
Yeah, I think the thought was, that they were going to have some bounce back guys, right? Like they had, I think, a lot of faith in a guy like Zach Allen and
Yeah.
bringing back Merrill Kelly and having Ebron. And to them, maybe that was 1, 2, 3. And then they have, he wasn't in this series. He was down in AAA, but Brandon Pfaadt, he pitched in the postseason
Right.
for them when they were on that World Series run. And I think they just had the idea of, we have some guys that can be good pitchers. Let's not trade Ketel Marte for other good pitchers. Right now, you look at it, it was a good
Yeah.
move by the Diamondbacks. Right, Pepio had that surgery, and Shane Baz he just hasn't figured it out yet. I think like he has good stretches, and then he gives up a terrible 2 months. So
Yeah.
I would love if the Rays went out and got Ketel Marte.
Oh my God.
But you do kind of look at the Diamondbacks, especially after just playing them, and thinking like, well, why didn't you trade for starting pitching, right? Like you definitely could have given up. You maybe not even Ketel Marte, but you definitely could have moved some people for him.
I think
for
they.
some pitching.
I feel like they kind of Ketel Marte to me is a guy that wouldn't be traded mid-season. Kind of one of your key. It feels like a guy that will be traded during the offseason when you're trying to just reset the franchise because
Right.
they're in the NL West, which is just like impossible with the Dodgers. Like you're not going to win the division, so then you're fighting in the wild card with 10 other good teams. I mean, we know how much better the NL is than the AL this year. They do feel like a team that needs to hit the reset button. Like I think they might have one of, if not the worst farm systems. Who is it that has the worst? I saw it the other day, where there's just like nothing. So I don't know. I kind of vibe with the D-backs like randomly. I don't know what it is about them. I just kind of rock with.
I've always
the
vibed them.
D-backs,
Longo was on there,
yeah.
so you got to vibe with them.
Yeah,
you know.
Great point. Yeah. So you know what? It's funny to see Nolan Arenado, just like I one of those players that's like electric that I just don't hear anything about or like don't see anymore. Like he's prop. You think he's a Hall of Famer just because of the defense over his career? He's like a 12-time Gold Glover.
No, I don't. I loved Nolan Arenado with the Rockies. I loved that Rockies team, right? When they had Nato and they had Carlos Gonzalez, they had
Trevor
Story, Charlie Blackmon. You know, they were an electric team. I remember. Yeah, Adam Ottavino. I remember that night, and I can't remember the pitcher's name, but I remember that night, John Gray. But when they made the postseason, right? I don't remember if it was the wild card game or if it was like a play-in to get in. But my roommate at the time, Dane, in college, I fell asleep on the couch with him watching the game, and I kind of wake up and it's over, and he looks at me and he goes, "It's Rocktober, baby," and I'll never forget that. But you know, I kind of look at Nato and like the Gold Glove, and it's kind of tough because you look at those 6 platinum gloves he had. I'm looking at his baseball reference page. The platinum gloves are so coveted, and having 6 of them is absolutely amazing. But then you kind of look at like the hitting stats, and you know, he hasn't reached 2,000 hits yet, which he probably will this season. That would be a pretty big milestone. You know, 360 home runs is good. You kind of look, and he almost seems
that's
like
more than I thought.
He almost seems like a bubble, like Hall of Fame guy. Like, is he a first ballot? Probably not. But if you know, maybe he's on with maybe a weaker ballot, then I think he can possibly sneak in and get in on it. Right? I would love it. Again, I love Nolan Arenado. I'm not sure when you look at some of the other third basemen that are Hall of Famers if he's in there. Right? You can have the same conversation about like Evan Longoria. You know, they're probably, you know, kind of similar, but I was, you know, because I'm biased, I'd put Longo in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you look at the individual career, Arenado's got Longo just by a little bit. But when you look at like impact on a team and success in like the playoffs, you know, I don't think there's any track record for Arenado at all. He's a little bit like Trout in that way, not as bad, but not quite as good of a player, not as bad of a, you know, not quite as bad of teams that he's been on. But I don't want to fault the player too much for not being on a good team.
Point out, not to cut you off, when you're looking at Arenado, his career at Coors Field really drives his numbers, and it is almost the definition probably of the Coors Field effect. So he's played over 560 games at Coors Field, which is by far the most he's played. The next couple is like St. Louis. He played about 380 there, and Arizona, right? So it makes sense. But 560 in Colorado. There he had 139 home runs, almost 500 RBIs, a 319 batting average, and a 980 OPS, and a 131 OPS plus. So
wow,
you kind of look at it, it's like, well, that might just be the Coors Field effect. Because,
yeah, but does OPS plus? I should know, but does that have park factor to it? Because if it's still a 131, those are still good numbers. I think even if you know, a 930, 900 OPS in Coors is still really good.
It is good. My point is, I think that playing at Coors Field for a huge chunk of his career has probably skewed his numbers a little bit.
Yeah, definitely his counting stat numbers, like his homers, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. Well, so there's so much exciting stuff that we have ahead for the Rays between the number 2 pick in the MLB draft, the trade deadline, which we're going to throw a few names out there here in a moment. You've got, during the All-Star game, Junior announced that he is back for the Home Run Derby. and then immediately goes yard tonight just to announce his presence even further. Man, he's been electric. And then at the same time, at the halfway point, we're back in first place, and the Yankees are getting smoked tonight by a Tigers team that is surging. And this feels good. This feels like, remember when they came into town and absolutely beat our brains in that series, and they're giving it to the Yankees tonight with Skubal on the mound too. We didn't even see Skubal at that time, which is interesting, and maybe it's a good transition to, some of the upcoming with the trade, the trade market and that kind of stuff. As we look ahead, there's a chance that the Tigers get back in this. They actually have looked pretty good the past month or so, and so they're in the AL Central, which is, very, very mid. The Guardians are kind of doing their thing still, but maybe not to the same level that sometimes the Guards ball is. So there's a chance that Skubal might not even be on the market, and I don't know. That's one of those that's truly going to be like a last week decision. Last day maybe decision at the deadline for somebody like him.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to be something that the Tigers are rushing to do, especially because if the Tigers just wait and wait, that price, you kind of get a little bit more desperate. But at the same time, it could be a double-edged sword, right? If a team like the Rays are looking for like a Tariq Skubal and they want a starting pitcher and they say no, but then they call up the Angels and they get Reed Detmers.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Sometimes I always forget there's an M in there. But they call him and get him, right? Then you have less suitors now for Skubal. So you kind of have less leverage if the Yankees call, right? And the Yankees like, well, no one else is calling you for it, so this is only who we're going to give you.
Yeah, I think if you wait till you don't get as let's say you traded him 2 weeks before that, the other team gets 3 more Skubal starts, so there's a little more value there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think looking at it, if I'm the Rays, I know fans have gone back and forth, like, why are we giving up assets for a left-handed pitcher? And he hasn't been very great since he's come back from the IL. I'm curious to see if another IL stint is coming, because maybe he tried this arthroscopic kind of thing and maybe something's still up with it. Maybe it wasn't as good as it seemed. It's baseball, so he could just be going through a rough stretch. But, looking at the Tigers pipeline, you have to think, if the Tigers still want to compete but still move Skubal, which is possible, who takes over their spot in that rotation? Mm-hmm. And they don't really have anybody waiting in the wings in AAA that they could come up and give some starts to and see what they got and give them a chance. They would probably have to trade for another starter, probably similar to what the Rays did last year. They traded Zach Littell, and they also traded for Adrian Hauser. Hauser kind of just stepped into the rotation.
And who did they trade for Adrian Hauser? My memory's hazy.
Some guy, some Aussie. I don't know. He's a no-name now. Yeah. He's on the Nationals, Curtis Mead or something.
Oh, okay.
Don't even get me started there. But
there was really nowhere to put him on our team, though. To be fair, third wasn't. Is locked up, first is locked up.
He probably could have played second base this year, but whatever.
Yeah.
But when you kind of look at a team like the Tigers, they could trade Skubal, but I also think they have other guys they can move that the Rays could use also.
Very true.
Like a name that you've probably heard thrown around a little bit, former Yankee Gleyber Torres.
Yes, that actually is a legitimate
second base.
Yeah, that's a decent option. And I do want to say, I think, maybe the first couple of starts back, Skubal was getting some rust off, but he went 6 innings with 1 hit. 9 Ks against the Yankees today, and so
that's pretty.
I think
good.
He's back. Yeah, I think he's going to be Skubal. Especially if he does this again in his next start. I think that clears up any concerns. You know what? What's crazy is Dylan Dingler's he's only in like his second or third year. This dude's one of the most valuable players in Major League Baseball over the past calendar year. He's got 6 WAR. I was listening to the Rates and Barrels podcast earlier today. And he's got 6 WAR in the last calendar year. Dylan Dingler. And I'm thinking, I was looking for trade options for us, right? And I was looking at all the catchers, and he was the guy at the top. I'm like, oh my God, Dylan Dingler. We got to go for Dylan Dingler if the Tigers are going to sell off. No way in hell. He's going to be there for a long time, I think. Which is where I then... Dingler. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Definitely not happening. They do. The Tigers have a pretty good team. Honestly, it is surprising how bad they've been. They've just gotten like the worst outcomes possible. So I don't see them moving too much of that lineup. Besides a Glaber Torres, could definitely get moved. Maybe someone in the pen. I mentioned Tyler Holton is a good lefty option who's a fairly higher leverage guy. They have Will Vest. Like I don't think you can trade Kenley Jansen at this point. I think it might be over for Kenley.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but he's been on the IL this year and
Yeah.
struggled. And
They could trade Riley Green
yeah.
if they really wanted like a big sell off. I think they'd get a lot for Riley Green.
Yeah,
Especially
they
if
could.
the Tampa Bay Rays are calling. Spencer
Yeah.
Torkelson's another name that they could move for some assets. He hasn't really panned out as that top prospect that they had. He's had flashes, but it's never been
Yes.
this elite kind of bat player fielder that they thought that they had. So, there's a world that you and I talked about this before we hopped on the pod. There's not a crazy amount of teams that are looking for like first base DH players. But there's a team that maybe wants to take the chance on a guy like Spencer Torkelson. I don't think the Rays are in that market, but you never know. There is always that possibility there.
Yeah, there is. I'm kind of not Kenley Jansen, but I think we should create the unction in the bullpen. Get Chapman, get Kimbrel figured out with the changeup, and get him comfortable with the Rays formula. And you go Kimbrel, Chapman, Baker. I mean, or are you probably? Yeah, I don't know. If you trade for Chapman, do you slot him as your closer and then Baker move back around? It actually would be interesting.
It's interesting.
What they would decide
I don't
to
know
do.
if you would do that. I think it's kind of tough, right? You have Aroldis Chapman, who's absolutely elite, and then you have Brian Baker, who is having an elite season as a closer. I think they would switch off between the 8th and 9th inning. I think depending on matchups. I mean, Chapman's like matchup proof. Imagine lefty or righty against Chapman. But I think they would switch between 8th and 9th depending on the part of the order. Actually give the Rays a little bit more flexibility in terms of that closing role of who's going in there.
That might be a tough thing to get Chapman fully on board for. Like, when's the last time he wasn't a closer? He's had the identity as a closer, and he may go against Brian Baker's assumed the role this year, but the Rays did go into this season with the plan to be a little more flexible with that closing spot, and Baker just kind of went out and got it.
Of the bridge to Brian Baker to the 9th inning is very weak. We've talked about it a couple of times, so. I think Brian Baker has that fire to be the closer. I think it would be offensive to Brian Baker to say, hey, like, we're going to get a roll to Chapman. You're going to pitch the 8th inning now. You're setup guy now after he's second in the American League in saves.
Yeah, that's true.
But at the same time, right, Aroldis Chapman might not be a great 8th inning pitcher, because he's so used to that 9th inning role that he might not be good in the 8th inning. So it's interesting. And also, Aroldis Chapman's contract, it's a mutual option for $13 million, but if he pitches over 40 innings and he passes his physical, that option is guaranteed, right? So then, are the Rays looking to have a $13 million closer on their roster next year? Exactly. And the answer is
what did they do this offseason? They did not take the contract for
Fairbanks.
Yeah, Fairbanks, and then he goes to the Fish.
So then it's risky because unless Chapman gets hurt, he's going to pitch 40 innings.
Yeah, right. we need all that money next year to keep Drew Rasmussen, who's going to kick into that $20 million threshold for his contract. Because goes from $8 million to $20 with the incentives, and you need the money to keep Yandy. I mean, these are like our two best. Obviously, have Junior, so they're our best, our superstar. But like Rasmussen and Yandy, like this team is like nothing without them. If you don't have them out there, you might as well have me out there on the mound. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
So. Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Something needs to be done in the pen.
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but you look at next season, and there are a couple guys that aren't going to be on the team next year, and some are okay. Like you look at Cedric Mullins, and he's starting to turn around, but
he's been good lately, man.
It's not a big deal if he's not on the team next year.
Yeah, because you have Melton.
It's the craziest thing because we have Melton exactly. But you look at a guy like Nick Martinez, who's not going to be on this team next year. The Rays are not going to pay him $20 million next season, and you kind of start being like, well, we have to probably go all in this year because there's going to be a pretty big overhaul next season. Shane is going to ARB3. It's his last year before free agency. So he's either going to get extended or he's probably going to get traded. So you kind of see, like, when you look at the starting rotation, It's at the moment it's very weak going into next year unless like they extend Griffin Jacks as a full-time starter next season, right? They bring Drew
You've
back
been
and
on
something
that.
with Shane, right? You have Pepio coming back, but it's his hip surgery, so you're not really sure how that's going to go, and he's getting older. So the fielding, the infield is fine, the outfield is okay, but the starting rotation going into next year is a little concerning.
Yeah.
And so I think when you're looking at making moves and making trades, you have to keep that in mind, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Brody Hopkins is in a trade for a big name player, but I wouldn't expect the Rays to trade like Brody Hopkins and Michael Ferret both this offseason
I
or
agree. I
both
think
this season at all.
Ferret's kind of seems like guy who's going to be in the rotation next year. Hopkins
Yeah.
is still TBD because he did. I think he had a good couple inning outing recently. So I could see because he's 40-man eligible. I think we've mentioned this a couple times. Rule 5 eligible, excuse me.
Yep.
I could definitely see a world where post deadline or at any time maybe. Let's say he has 3 good outings in Durham in relief. The Rays add him, bring him to the major league roster and try him in the bullpen and see how it goes a little bit and just test
Yeah.
the waters. I think we kind of know how it's going to go. It's going to be 2 walks and 3 strikeouts in an inning, or it's going to be 100 walks and 0 outs. And so, you got, I could see that happening. And then you see how it goes and then try to get him in the rotation next year. Actually, this is something I wanted to mention to you as well is like you look at, so let's say we got into a playoff series right now and let's say it's a 7-game series against the Yankees are like the only other good team
Let's
in
go
the
with the
AL.
Yankees. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Let's go with the Mariners. How about that? I'll go with the little Mariners
All right,
love.
all right.
Like think about like the rotation that they're gonna bring out against us with Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller.
Brian Wu.
Who else is in there? Brian Wu. How could I forget Brian Wu? One of my goats. Then they've got the 2 best pitching prospects in the minors. Maybe you could say LeGrand for the Yankees, maybe, but like really the 2 are
Yeah.
like Ryan Sloan and Cade Anderson. They're both on the Mariners, and they might be up. They are overloaded with pitching.
Yeah.
Like
And they're
so, they would
both
be
top
putting.
10 prospects.
They're both on the Mariners, so they are cooking. They've been cooking on the pitching side for like the last 5 years on a crazy level, like Guardians level. And then so like think about if we played them in the ALCS, and they're going with that, and then we're going Drew feeling great, Drew Rasmussen, 2 thumbs up, feeling great. After that, like we've seen good results out of Nick Martinez. He's not an ace, Shane McClanahan. You look at McClanahan and Jax, they both have shined at points. I guess my main concern with them is the fact that the longevity. How much is going to be left? And this is why McClanahan's missed a start and got it pushed back. And I heard Neander talk about, like, we're trying to make sure that they're still 100% in the tank when it comes time for October, which is a great point. So I do think that you have Michael Grove, who flashed, like he could come up and start a little bit. Maybe you get somebody from the minors, but I think we need to get some kind of pitcher. Like, is it Freddie Peralta? Is it Scooble? Is it who did you mention from the Detmers? There's going to be a hand. You could get maybe like a Dustin May. I don't know. I mean, I think we need a pitcher, maybe a bullpen arm, unless we think that Uceda and/or Manrad are coming back. And I think we need Hunter Goodman behind the dish, whether he's available or not. Just storm the gates in Colorado and just steal him.
Yeah, I think when you look at that starting, like obviously, like I think any team would be happy with Drew Rasmussen starting game 1 of a series, right? But then you do look after Nick Martinez, although he has that low ERA and he's pitched fine. He's walked a couple more guys, but he's been having a little bit more trouble on the base. I feel like he's constantly getting a couple more guys on base, hard contact that luckily finds a defender. So he's had games where the box score looks good, but the actual game watching itself does have you a little bit concerned. He pitched good against the Dodgers, right, which was almost like a litmus test
he did.
for him. And then Shane has had flashes where he looks great. He looks like Shane McClanahan that we knew. And then he has also like streaks that he's on now where he's just giving up those hits. He's not executing the pitches. Usually the 4th or 5th inning, the wheels start falling off and he's leaving some of those pitches out over the plate. So, then you also have Jax. You have Angler if needed. That's not like a good decision. Doesn't feel good. You have Ian Seymour, who probably had his best career game against the Royals. What was it, like 6 or 7 no-hit innings?
Yes.
Right. He
Yes.
he looked really good. So the Rays, it seems like this season they've been focusing on making sure they have starting options just in case an injury happens and someone can go in. But it does have you a little concerned in terms of like when you're looking at a playoff series. Like for the regular season, that's great. Someone could step in and it's 162 game season. That's awesome. But when you're looking at a small window, right? Rays are in the wild card.
Yeah.
It's a 3-game series, a division series. That's a 5-game series.
Right.
You need 3 good pitchers in every series to feel good about it, right? And I think the Rays they don't have 3 good pitchers where they're taking them out and you're like, I feel great. This is going to lock down this lineup. So is it a Skubal? That'd be freaking awesome. Is it a Detmers? That'd be fine. It could be Jose Soriano also if the Angels decide to move him.
Yeah.
That would be okay with me too. But I don't think what the Rays have in the farm is ready yet to make that impact. I don't think Brody Hopkins is a major league pitcher yet just because he is so wild. And Michael Frett is just getting his first taste in AAA. So
Right.
I think you have to make that move. And if that's trading maybe one of your top 2 catchers in the farm, then it's a move you have to make, right? You couldn't make the idea. Hunter Goodman would be a great ad for this team. But I think, and we'll talk about him a little bit more, but when you kind of look at the Rays farm and they have Caden Bodine and Nathan Flewelling, do you want to block them with Hunter Goodman, who's under team control for another 3 years, right?
Well,
or do you think that they're going to be good enough to play?
Well, a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. This is literally a perfect point. Like, Hunter Goodman is a good major league catcher right now. So you could get him, and even if it's you have him for this year, then you have him next year while the other catchers are in double and AAA, and then he gets into ARB3, and that's like, the Rays' worst nightmare. Then you trade him in ARB3 and you bring the guy. So I think Hunter Goodman's I truly think he is the best ad for this team because I think there's a world where Lux is back and then you got somebody at second base, or Carson Williams comes up and is impactful at second base or shortstop. And then you have Melton in the outfield. You have Fraley who can come back in the outfield. We've seen Mesa flash at times in the outfield. To me, they're thinking about the Rays and how they might operate. They're probably going to do something I couldn't even have imagined, but just trying my best to think through it. I really think catcher is the spot that right now, this year, this team can immediately improve by 2 or 3 more wins the rest of the season with a different catcher back there. There's a lot of things that I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's not it's the easiest thing in the world to come in as a catcher just mid-season and learn the entire pitching staff, learn what these guys like to do and not do, learn their pitches, learn their sequencing. That's a lot harder to do than plug in an outfielder in left field for sure. So there's something to that. I think you'd have to expect a little bit of regression initially out of whatever catcher comes in, and then for them to hopefully take off after there. I might go back and look at history of catchers traded at the deadline, notable catchers, and see what happened. And I'll try to do that. So, yeah, I also want to mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, and we're going to, maybe this could transition us to the farm here, because there's some big farm system updates that we want to mention. I would be remiss if I didn't mention, is it Ty Johnson, who's been flashing with
Johnson, yeah.
With the fastball and slider combination. And
he's 1-2.
Yep, and I don't know if he's starter. I don't think he can start with just those 2 pitches, but he could come in and in relief, and he could also join our bullpen at some point too. So there are reinforcements. There are some guys, but I just think this team does have to get a little better. If I'll just lay it out, just picking a random example again. Obviously this is cream of the crop, but let's say it's the Phillies that make it to the World Series and we make it there too. And you're going up against Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo, Zach Wheeler. You're that's just a different echelon than what we could provide on a single game basis. As Nick Martinez made it work and been successful in the regular season, absolutely. Is he going to regress closer to the mean? Most likely. It's just you got to think about this single game scenario where everything is on the line. I feel like we need a starter and we need a catcher, and I would not mind a bullpen arm as well.
Yeah, you kind of hit everything, right? Of this team isn't perfect. A catcher, a bullpen arm, and another starter. I would love another power bat in the outfield, but I do feel like the Rays, I hate when I say this because it's not a good thing to say. I I do feel like they do a little bit of service time manipulation. You know, like
For sure.
Jacob Melton could be up here, no problem at all, and add some power. But you know, he was injured, but you know, he could be up here, right? The Rays could just say, let's get your reps, right? Ty Johnson could easily be in the bullpen. He's not a starter because he only has that fastball slider. Maybe next year he develops that changeup or curveball or something. But I feel like and the Rays could definitely use him. But I feel like the Rays right now are like thinking they're okay at the moment, and they don't want to start Ty Johnson's service time clock yet, because then that's one less year that they can control him, right? If Ty Johnson ends up being this amazing closer or develops that extra pitch and is the next Rays closer or bullpen to starter, and you already lost a year of him because you brought him up too early, that doesn't sit good for a team like the Rays.
Yeah.
So I hate to say that, but I think that's possibly what's going on because he has looked really good. But from there, I could transition into a little minor league minute. You know, this year I wasn't a huge minor league ball guy. I didn't watch everything, just followed a couple players, but this year I have been all in
Yeah,
on
you're
minor
dialed.
league ball. It is fun to watch. Granted, I gotta say, I've watched a little less of the River Dogs. My boys,
Yeah.
the River Dogs in Charleston. Watched a little less of Daniel Pierce is hurt. Slater DeBrun has not played
Yeah.
yet this year.
Yeah.
They do have Tate and Gray, which is freaking awesome. I'll mention him a little bit coming up
He
here.
is a hitter, dude.
He is an absolute hitter. And the Hot Rods, Bowling Green, they've actually lost a couple players on their team for good reason. So quickly, let's start off. There's new top 100 of MLB prospects. Theo Gillen, the Rays' number one prospect, had the biggest jump out of every prospect on there. I think it was 29 spots. Is now the number 10th prospect in all of baseball, which is a crazy, crazy jump. We talked about it that it seemed like Theo Gillen was a future top 10 prospect. And to me, that was next season, right? Next
Oh, yeah.
season when they do the rankings again, the 2027 rankings, he was going to be in the top 10. The fact in their mid-season 2026 that he's already in 10, and you have kind of guys that are probably going to jump from this list soon, right? Colt Emerson is probably going to graduate from this list. I wouldn't be surprised if a player like, well, actually, no, so probably he's the only one that would jump. But the fact that he's in the top 10 is pretty remarkable, seeing from this outfielder, right? The power has really shown up this year. And, you know, there is a couple swing and miss stuff, right? That is
Lefty, he can get got a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that's just experience.
So
Obviously,
you know,
that's hard to do.
he's playing great right now. He's a 330 average, 994 OPS. He already has 12 home runs on the year. He's starting to really look like this top outfield prospect and a player that the Rays are definitely going to be making a spot for once it's time for him to come up. So that was exciting. Nathan Flewelling, who we've talked about.
Sorry to cut you off. I got like one or two things on Gillen. So
Yeah.
just meteoric rise for him, right? He was one of the best, if not the best, like pure hitters that was coming out of that class, and he fell to us. I think it was at 14, somewhere around there. He fell to us because he had some injury concerns,
Yep.
and so that hurt his stock a little bit. And the hit tool was there, and then when he gets healthy, as his first season in the minors last year, has 5 home runs in the whole season. On base percentage looks good. Athleticism looks good. It seems like he can stick in center field. It's not like 100% guarantee he was a shortstop, but because of the arm injury, I can't remember if it was shoulder. I think maybe it was shoulder, or it could have been. Yeah, I think maybe it was
He
shoulder.
had 2. So from what I see, it was a torn labrum as a sophomore, so his shoulder, and then a knee injury as a junior. So he had 2 injuries in back-to-back seasons.
Yeah, so he moved off of the infield to center field, where the arm is not quite as needed as like in the corners. It's more just about your range and athleticism and the ability to go gap to gap, right? And so he came out with essentially 4 tools. I guess 3 tools because you can't really put the arm in there, which is, to me is always such a weird tool. But I guess I get it for an infielder, but I don't know. It's a weird tool for me. But now this year the power just arrives. Just he has a real knack for getting into his pull side. There is a really athletic swing, very pleasing swing to the eye. this is a little bit of a preview for our draft pod upcoming here. Just talking, like this. But he just has a real, just like has a real athleticism about him at the plate, and we've even seen him go oppo with some power as well this year. So Gillen's stock is way up, and if there's anybody in the farm system that could be untouchable, it's him. It would be if the Tigers said you can have Skubal for Gillen. It might be a hard one to swallow. There's part of me that would still say yes. I know maybe that's crazy. I know, but it's just like to get Skubal now. I mean, do we feel that good about this Rays team? I'm not sure. So it could be a hard one to swallow. But okay, I needed to spend a minute on him and back to you.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, if Theo Gillen didn't jump into he was already kind of questionable about being like untouchable, right? You see on like, X or Twitter or whatever, like, oh, is Theo Gillen, would you trade him? But I think once you are in the top 10 of a prospects for a team like the Rays, who always have good prospects, like, yes, he is completely untouchable. Is he a center fielder? Probably not. He's going to still get the work in center field because that just kind of really helps your range as an outfielder, especially when you're a top prospect, right? Just see what you can do. I think there is a world where, say we're looking at 2028, it's crazy to look ahead, but say we're looking at 2028, 2 years from now, Jacob Melton is a plus defender, and he is a center fielder. I see a world where, Chandler Simpson might still be in left field. You have Melton center, and probably a guy like Theo Gillen's probably in right field. That's kind of what I see for it, unless, and Johnny DeLuca, if he's still on the team in 2 years, he'll also probably be kind of that fourth outfielder or center fielder, and Simpson might be that extra. Who knows what they do about it, but I see Gillen as more of like a corner outfielder than an actual center fielder, but that's okay because his bat's insane. So moving along the top 100 prospects, Nathan Flewelling is still on that top 100 prospects list. He's number 77. I think he was at 77 before. Also, I don't think he jumped at all. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think he was there. And the Rays
he jumped in this year, though, still, right? Like, he wasn't on it until this year.
Yeah, so this year he jumped on the top 100. In this latest update, he didn't go up or down. He's still 77, but he's the Rays' number 2 prospect, which I think he was already. And then new on the top 100 list, number 99, Caden Bodine, who is also now the Rays' number 3 prospect. So on top of that, Theo Gillen moved up to AA. We should have mentioned that we were talking about Theo Gillen. He got promoted to AA Montgomery, which is, I didn't think it was going to happen this fast, but he did. So that kind of opens the door that he could probably be on the Rays next season, because if everything goes good in Montgomery and he starts the season in AAA Durham next year, if a player is good, the Rays aren't just going to keep him there. You looked at Junior. He was down in Durham not too long. Same with, hate to say his name, same with Wander Franco was down there not very long either. So they, if the Rays know if the players are doing good, they bring them up, right? If it doesn't make sense, right? You look at Roman Anthony, who was in AAA for no reason, and he
Connor
was
Griffin.
Insane.
Connor Griffin played like 7 games in AAA. It was just like a formality.
Exactly. So, Caden Bodine also got called up. Caden Bodine this season has gone from the River Dogs to Bowling Green Hot Rods, and now he's on the AA Montgomery Biscuits, and he is the Rays.
And he was a college player.
Prospect.
He was a college player, so a little more experience at that level.
Yeah. Now, Caden Bodine should have never been with the River Dogs. I think they just didn't. I think because of him and Flewelling, they had to kind of figure out where to put one another, so they both got the at-bats. But then, of course, they brought Bodine up to Bowling Green, and he was insane there. He was hitting 340 with 6 doubles and 4 home runs, almost matching his production in Single A. With 30, he had 30 RBIs in 32 games with Bowling Green, and so the Rays said, "Hey man, let's get you up to AA, right? We're messing around with you down here in High A. Get you in AA."
They might need him in AAA.
There's an opening, so see how he does in AA. I think today might be his first game he's playing with them. I got to see.
Who is catching in AAA for the Durham Bulls right now? Is it Driscoll?
Davidson?
Is he
Logan Davidson? I think. That's my guess.
Guy.
So it's cool to see it for a team like the Rays that I've always had issues with catcher, and especially homegrown catcher, that their number 2 and their number 3 prospect are catchers. One of them, courtesy of the Shane Boss trade, thank you Orioles, and the other one was drafted by the Rays.
Yeah.
Bodine will probably, I think we were looking at like Bodine's a switch hitter, probably has a little bit of a higher chance to get on this team first. He's 22 years old.
Yeah.
Compared to Flewelling, but Flewelling's 19 years old, right? And
Yeah, the
he's a
upside is
lefty,
crazy.
and the upside on him is huge. So it's exciting to kind of look at the farm system as a Rays fan. On the not so great side, Brody Hopkins is now the 4th ranked prospect on the Rays and is no longer a top 100 prospect in baseball. And there's only one reason for it, and that's because he can't hit the big rectangle in the middle. He just can't do it. And before the beginning of the season, it didn't hurt him, right? He would have 6 walks, but give up 0.
He was in
runs,
Double A
maybe
at the
1
time,
run.
right?
No, Triple A. So this was all in
He
Durham.
started the year in Triple A.
Yep. So
Okay.
he did. So he was walking guys, but he was also getting high strikeouts and not letting him score. Now he's getting high walks, okay amount of strikeouts, and letting everybody score.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know what it has to do for him. I don't know if it's working on the delivery again. I don't know if he's a bullpen guy in the future, but it's kind of sucks to see because everybody knows Brody Hopkins has one of the best fastballs in the minors.
And the secondary stuff is elite too. I mean, you can see why he's ranked so high, just because of the upside and like the potential that if one day he wakes up on the right side of the bed and it clicks, and the walk rate gets down to 10% from like 22% or whatever absurd number it's at.
Yeah.
If he wakes up on the right side of the bed, it clicks. Like he's gonna be unhittable. It's just until
this is
that
what
day.
sucks is batters against him have a 206 batting average, right? So it's not like guys are
high.
going. 206 is high. A 206 batting average against.
But I guess for what I expected, I thought it was gonna be like 160.
No, so it's 206. Let's put this into reference. We could look at like Cade Anderson, right? That you kind of mentioned before.
Yeah, good comparison.
His batting average against is 162, and he's the number 5th prospect in baseball.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. I think if you're looking at someone who's now off the top 100, that a 206 it's not terrible, right? But when you pair that with all the walks that he has, it makes it seem a lot worse than it actually is. So he has a 4.88 ERA right now. Everybody else, there wasn't a crazy amount of change. Michael Fora is 9, which I don't agree with. I think he should be higher on that list. Slater DeBrun's out of the top 10. He has yet to play this year. Xavier Isaac is 13. Peyton Gray's 14. And Emilian Petre, if I can pronounce that right. Excuse me. I'm talking here. He is new on the Rays' top 30 prospects. He went from Bowling Green to Montgomery this year, and he's a left-handed hitting second baseman. So someone to kind of keep your eye out for. Was a little shocked that Braden Taylor did not get his way back on the top 30. I thought that he played good enough to get back on there, especially when you're looking at some of the other guys on here like Homer Bush Jr., who's having a really bad season with the Durham Bulls. But I don't know, maybe he's just had the last season was just so tough for him that they don't want to put him on the top 30 yet. I'm not sure. Also, to round it out, Austin Slater and Nick Madrigal will sign with the Durham Bulls. So the Rays have reinforcements if they need them, right? It's kind of interesting, I think.
The Rays are raising.
The Nick Madrigal signing I thought was kind of interesting because we both kind of talked. We expected maybe like Carson Williams to come up and play second base if needed. But Nick Madrigal kind of blocks that a little bit. I think you'd bring up Madrigal before you bring up Carson. And then same with like Austin Slater. Like that's a left-handed hitting outfielder who I think the Rays might bring up before they bring Jacob Melton up. I don't know if that makes sense if they would do that. I'm not sure, but also Gavin Lux and Jake Fraley are both in.
Did we trade? Sorry. Yeah. Didn't we trade Reynel Delgado?
We did.
So I think maybe that's part of Madrigal too. Like that was Reynel was your AAA shortstop option, right? I don't know if
Right.
Magical plays short. Does he play short? I don't think so. Second,
I
maybe.
don't know if he plays short.
What
I
does-
know he
I
plays
gotta look at-
second. I know he plays
Yeah.
second.
Where was he with the Angels before? I'm trying to remember.
He's been with a couple teams now. I think he was originally with the White Sox, and then got sent to the Cubs, where he was playing pretty good. And then, let's see, Baseball Reference. Yeah, the Los Angeles Angels. He wasn't even bad this year. He had a positive WAR with a 273 batting average.
Yeah,
He kind of
You
fits
can't
the
count on
Rays
the Angels to act
scheme, low
rationally.
OPS, high on base. No, you can't. I mean, this guy almost in 44 at bats had almost a 400 on base percentage. So he kind of fits in with like what the Rays kind of look for in
does.
terms of that fielding. It's second base, mostly second base, a little bit of third base, but his main position is second base. So I guess it's just maybe a
Okay.
depth move for the Rays, right? If
100%.
Taylor Walls gets hurt,
yeah.
and you already bring someone up for Nick or for Ben Williamson, that you want somebody for Taylor Walls. But
Yeah.
who knows? Oliver Dunn is also still down there, and he's been killing it in Triple
Yes.
A. He is.
I mean,
he might be a
he's a-
quadruple A player, but
He is. He's a legendary
Yeah.
quadruple A guy at this point. But still, I mean, this is just the Rays' move. Like, just keep having that depth in there, for in case of injury. Walls is going to hit the injured list with the oblique for 15 day at some point. That's a Walls MO. Although he did get that out earlier in the year. Maybe he got that out of him.
he did. He got it out at the very beginning.
Yeah, maybe he got it out of him. Okay, well, look, I mean, I think top to bottom, there's some off-field stuff that's percolated with the stadium. I don't have anything tangible right
I don't
this
know anything
second,
at the
but
stadium. Oh, I did see something with Governor DeSantis, if that's what you're referring to.
yes, Governor DeSantis,
50
and you also,
50 mil grant for Hillsborough Community College, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so they've been behind. I mean, our new owners have a connection with his campaign and his. They're in on the political side of things. That's how business gets done in the United States, right? So that's what they're doing, and you've got they're starting to look at some contractors as well. So there's things moving, but just not much tangible yet. So maybe we'll come back around on that. But like just everything in the organization of the Rays, I feel like is in a really good spot right now. We're the best team in the AL East at record-wise at this moment. The farm system has maybe had the biggest up arrow of any team this year. That's very possible. So I'm just enjoying Rays fandom right now. And we got the number 2 pick in the
too.
freaking draft.
Me too. It was tough
Yeah.
a little bit there. We were kind of down a little bit.
Yeah,
It's nice to see that the Yankees are struggling more than the Rays are struggling. So
they are. They're going through their lull. I mean, there's still some things about the team that I still feel the same way, that when we're not clicking, the floor could kind of fall out a little bit of this team. Just like I still feel like there's something to that there during that lull that we went through. But when we are clicking, we look like one of the best teams in baseball. I wish we were clicking in that Dodgers series. That would have been fun. But
I know. I wish the offense was there. That would have been a big statement.
yeah, for sure. So draft preview, we're working on that. Got that to look forward to. I think that's all I got. Will, you got a closer for us?
I do. I have a question for you, and this is just
Okay.
try to answer this as a non-biased Rays fan. But so I'm going to
Okay.
take a dive to the National League a little bit here. Talk about a team,
Okay.
the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right,
Yeah.
a lot of work in the offseason. They're kind of still. It's interesting to say the Pirates. This is what they are now, but they're a 500 team after they did all that work, right? Of bringing the bats. They're kind of a 500 team still.
Yeah.
They're which is better than they were before, but they're
Now they were missing Connor Griffin for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and he's back now.
Yeah, that's true. But looking at the state of the National League, right? The playoff picture, the division, right? Brewers and Cubs are leading all that stuff. Is there a world that the Pirates trade Brandon Lau? And second question is there a world where Eric Neander picks up the phone and says, "Hey, let's just bring this guy back here, huh?"
Yes and yes. There's a world for both of those things. Yes, I think it's too early to say for the Pirates right this second because they're in the thick of it, and I still think they look decent. I really do. It's a competitive NL, but yeah, answer your question. Absolutely, Belau could be back in a Rays uniform on August 3rd, which would it would solve what I think what we all think main issue is offensively, which is just the power. And he's been having a great year in the power department. So as long as he's feeling healthy, and I think the defense has also looked a little better this year too. He's kind of like Gavin Lux, but you just kind of have power. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Actually,
Brandon Lau currently sits number 3 on the Rays all-time home run leaderboard at 157, and he's 6 home runs from tying Carlos Pena for number 2. So
is that the carrot you dangle in front of him?
That's the carrot you dangle. Hey, Brandon. Hey, man. Or even hey, Pirates. Hey,
your boy.
You're 6 home runs away. You're Brandon Lau. Like you deserve. You deserve to be, number 2 on this list. We're sorry we traded you. We got this guy Jacob Melton back and Anderson Brito. Yeah. Like we had to do it. But how about you just come home? He's probably not going to be as expensive as Jacob Melton and Anderson Brito. He might be like, I don't know. Rays got a good farm system. I'd probably put the Rays in the top 5 farm system now, and it'd be foolish for Eric Neander not to use some of those assets to trade. And if it's a Brandon Lau, to me that's pretty cool.
I think you ended it on a perfect note. That's all we got for the opener tonight. Take care. We'll see you soon.